Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Thursday. All today's guests are brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. Giants would like to thank all of their amazing fans for their support at the Langley Event Center this season. Stay tuned to vancouvergiants.com for ticket details going into next season. Unsigned into the Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. I'm calling for somebody to check Donnie's mug for Crown.
Oh.
The only way he could think Hronik was diving was if he was drunk.
There you go.
If I was drunk.
I did not
versus
think.
Hronik being drunk.
No.
Okay, let's bring in John Shannon, NHL Analyst, co-host of the Bob McCown podcast. John, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
Great. This is Black Shirt Thursday. So
it really is, isn't it?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, all of us.
Holy smokes.
Well, the internal memo worked.
Yeah, for once.
By the way, boys, we're live.
We're
Yes.
live. We're live.
In case people were wondering.
I got Bobby Schmatz here with me. So
You know, we brought him up earlier,
Yeah.
one of the great Canucks of all time, the late, great Bobby Schmatz. If you ask me, people forget how good he was at the start of the Canucks NHL existence.
37 goals
Yeah,
was the big number until Tony Tanti showed up.
yeah. And don't forget Ron Settlebauer for one season.
You know, Ron
goals.
Settlebauer's name came up on our show today.
Oh, my. Really?
Because Jamie Campbell, the host of Rogers Sportsnet Baseball, is a huge Canuck fan because he fell in love with Ron Settlebauer playing for the Canucks.
Wow.
Whose family owned Cougar shoes back in the day.
And so did Jamie Campbell's dad.
Wow.
They were co-owners?
Well, I don't know. He worked at Cougar Shoes because that was part of the story today on the podcast. So.
Hey, John, while we're on the subject, I haven't been in touch with them lately. How's Jamie Campbell doing, by the way? Do we know?
He's doing well. We actually do talk about the leukemia right at the top of our show, and he's doing well. He's on medication. It might be too premature to say remission. He doesn't think he'll ever not have leukemia, and he knows at some point that it will come back. But he's hoping, and the world is hoping for new medication all the time to help assist anybody with leukemia.
Yeah. I feel comfortable asking that because Jamie was front and center with it on social media for awareness. It was effective. All right, Coyotes over the Canucks 4-3. Canucks get the single point. Oilers win against Vegas 5-1, and the Coyotes win was in overtime. John, do the Canucks look like a team? And I know Demko's not there right now, but they look like a team ready for the playoffs.
I in fact think they're more than ready for the playoffs. I think they'd rather have the playoffs start tomorrow. Because there is a level of, I don't want to say the word boredom, but I don't know what more the Canucks have to fight for in the regular season. And by the way, I think that's a conversation you can have in Winnipeg. I think that's a conversation you can have in Edmonton. Florida. I think that's a conversation you can have in Florida and in Vegas. 82 games. Once you clinch, how you motivate players? I'm sure Rick's very frustrated, but at the same time, the most important thing between now and I think the West will start on the 21st or 22nd. Between now and those dates is hell. Whether you're first or second in your division, it doesn't really matter. The Canucks are going to have home ice at least for the first round. And trying to keep these guys focused is a real challenge at this time of year.
John, not many weeks ago, the Canucks were 17 points up on the Oilers. Now it's down to 4. This might go right down to the wire. I mean, the Oilers do have 2 games in hand. What about Edmonton coming back the way they have in the past few weeks?
Well, it is a great story from a hockey perspective. I'm sure it's not great for Canuck fans. And what really has happened is we're finally seeing a personality out of the Edmonton Oilers beyond Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You're seeing the impact of Corey Perry. You're seeing the impact of Matthias Ekholm. Stuart Skinner has given them almost Demko-like goaltending. I'm not saying it's as good, but it's almost Demko-like. So there is a level of confidence with the Oilers Hockey Club that they can go in and beat anybody. Now, hold on. A week ago, they went to Dallas and lost 5-0.
Yep. That's
5-0.
right.
And they looked horrific. So the same conversation we're having today about the Canucks, we were having last week about the Oilers.
Yep.
And that's this time of year once you clinch your playoff spot.
John, the team that was here last night possibly looks like could be moving to Salt Lake City. What about all these rumors about the Coyotes? Finally, looks like Bettman's getting fed up too. Is this going to happen?
Oh, I think it's going to happen. Yeah. The question really, is it going to happen this summer or is it going to happen next summer? You know, when Alec Morello and his people moved the Coyotes to Mullet Arena and the 5,000 seats, which, by the way, they're not selling out right now. There was permission for 3 years to go there. 3 years. Well, we're just finishing year 2. In theory, they could play a third year there. But how far away are we from getting a major league arena for hockey in Phoenix? And the answer is 4 or 5. Well, that's unacceptable. And that's, by the way, guys, that's not just the commissioner. That is the Players Association, business partners. That is a great deal of the influential owners in the National Hockey League that have a ton of say and can influence the commissioner. This is not a dictatorship the way that people portray it. In many ways, the input that Gary gets from really, really important owners on his executive committee, there is a lot of push beyond the commissioner's office to fix what's going on in Phoenix.
You've been around, like me, you've been around for a while. So has pro hockey in Salt Lake City. Have you ever ventured down there, working or otherwise, to see a game down there in Salt Lake City? Would it work?
So the answer, well, I did the Salt Lake Olympics for one
there
thing.
You go, of course.
And that was not at the Delta Center. That was out at it was called the East Center at that point, out in the suburbs of Salt Lake, which was a 10,000 seat arena where the ECHL team plays now.
Yes.
But I did venture down when the Salt Lake City Flames or Golden Eagles, they were the Flames affiliate. Paul Beck was the coach of the team, and he was a friend of mine. So I was in one of my let's call it a sabbatical in my career.
We've all had those, John.
So I had 5 or 6 days. Did anything. So I flew to Salt Lake and spent 4 or 5 days with the team. Went on a road trip to Denver with them. Saw Paul Baxter almost get into a brawl on the bench with the Colorado Rangers head coach Pete Mahovlich. I had a great time. So I think Salt Lake is going to be, and I have said this for a while, a really solid National Hockey League city. There's lots of money. It's the second fastest growing city in the United States, behind Houston. It is one of the richest cities in North America. It is larger than 5 cities that exist now in the National Hockey League. And with its location, it is a winter sports city that, when you look at the logistics of moving a team in the Central Division, not that far from Phoenix to Salt Lake, it just makes too much sense. It really does.
Is this attractive as well, John? No NFL there, no baseball there as well. Less competition at the pro level. That's funny because in the end, hockey doesn't compete with the National Football League. There's just no comparison, and it doesn't compete basically from seasons with baseball. I just think it's attractive because there's a guy that's willing to spend $1 billion. Yeah, that helps. Hey, is Torts going to lose his job in Philly before we let you go?
No way. John Tortorella, I suspect John Tortorella will be a flyer for as long as he wants to be. Now, he may not be coach all of that time, but he has a great relationship, obviously, with Danny Briere and Keith Jones, but he has a tremendous relationship with Dan Hilferty, who is the president of Comcast. Remember, it was Hilferty that said when Tortorella was fined the $50,000 for not leaving the bench that the company was more than happy to pay the fine. So his relationship internally with the Flyers and with Comcast is excellent. At some point, do I see him going upstairs as a senior consultant? Yeah, I do. But I do think it will be on John Tortorella's terms, not on anyone else's.
You see, we had those sabbaticals. Maybe if we got along better with the big guys up top, there wouldn't have been any sabbaticals. But everything turned out well.
Listen, you know what? It's one of those things where when you are working at those places, you come home and you shake your head and you're ticked off that things are going the wrong way. And then when you do go on the sabbatical and you say, I wish I was working there again, you have to knock yourself on the side of the head saying, man, I'm better off not being there.
Yeah,
no kidding.
Well,
by the way,
yes,
Rick's idea of the penalty versus the penalty shot, stop it.
Why?
A penalty shot is one of the most exciting plays in the game. And if it's a defenseman, he can do what Donnie says to do. Shoot the darn puck.
Yeah.
If that was Quinn Hughes who got the penalty shot, I wouldn't be whining.
So now you want only the good times and not the bad times. Take your chances. No. Remember, the greatest shootout opportunity of all time. Ryan will find it. Merrick Malik.
Entertaining.
Entertaining. Yeah. Come on.
Bang on.
Come on.
I love it when you agree with me, John.
Just shoot the puck.
Shoot the puck.
Shoot it.
Yeah.
That's what Al McInnes should have done in Nagano, too.
Yeah.
We could go on. All right, John, thank you.
Cheers, boys.